At exactly 2:13 a.m., the neighborhood was ripped from its sleep by a scream sharp, panicked, and followed by the roar of high-pressure water bursting through a severed pipe. Later, security footage would reveal the truth. A middle-aged woman, soaked head to toe, blasted backward across a lawn by a jet of water she had just unleashed with a hacksaw. Her name was Brenda. She wore a plastic poncho, cheap gardening gloves, and the smug look of someone convinced she was single-handedly saving the planet. What she didn't realize was that she had just cut directly into the town's emergency fire suppression line. 5 minutes later, every hydrant on the block was dead. 15 minutes after that, a house fire nearby had no water to fight it. 30 minutes in, the fire chief, faced and furious, was banging on my door, demanding answers. All I did was press play on the footage and watch his rage shift direction. It had started the day before, during one of those brutal heat waves that makes concrete sweat and people act stupid. I was adjusting my irrigation system I'd built with help from some firefighter buddies and fully permitted through the city's auxiliary emergency infrastructure program. It pulled minimal water, operated off a pressure-managed line, and was designed to preserve both gardens and emergency readiness. That didn't matter to Brenda. I was crouched beside a patch of drought-resistant saplings when I heard the sharp, angry clack of wedge heels on pavement. Brenda, with her oversized sunglasses and a tote bag that screamed eco-warrior, marched up like she owned the sidewalk. "Do you have any idea how irresponsible this is?" she snapped, pointing at my yard like I'd dumped oil into a lake. "It's a drip system," I said. "Uses less than 2 gallons an hour. Fully permitted." I tapped the laminated approval sign right next to the valve. She squinted at it like it was a forged ID. "Looks fake. I'll be verifying this myself." Brenda had a history. She once demanded a teenage girl issue a written apology for throwing a birthday party on a school night. She reported a neighbor's mailbox for being too whimsical. Still, I didn't think she'd ever be reckless enough to tamper with infrastructure. I was wrong. That night, my motion sensor pinged. Expecting a raccoon, I checked the feed. Instead, there was Brenda, hunched over my emergency line like a suburban saboteur, flashlight between her teeth and a saw in her hands. She muttered about justice and conservation as she sliced through the pipe. The second she hit the valve, water exploded. She was launched backward, gasping, soaked, and crawling off like a gremlin in retreat. Then came the sirens. Then the call. A fire, 5 blocks away. Hydrants dry. The system had collapsed. When I opened the door, Chief Ronan, who I'd served with for a decade, looked ready to explode. I didn't say a word, just queued up the tape. His expression shifted from anger to shock to outright disbelief. "You've got to be kidding me," he said, rewinding to rewatch Brenda's geyser launch. By sunrise, the whole neighborhood knew. Someone had leaked the video, and it went viral. Memes. Headlines. My favorite caption: "When you try to save the planet but delete the hydrant instead." Brenda stayed inside all day, and the HOA scrambled to spin the story. She claimed she thought it was an illegal garden hose. But once the city confirmed my system was legally tied into the fire suppression grid, the HOA board started backpedaling fast. That afternoon, a city vehicle taped a cease and desist on Brenda's front door, citing interference with municipal infrastructure. Less than 10 minutes later, the HOA held a closed-door emergency meeting. Brenda, still clinging to her fantasy of righteousness, invited a news crew and gave a driveway interview. She called me a threat to environmental safety and claimed she was investigating a rogue water system. Her expert, a man named Dr. Ellis Burton, stood beside her talking about non-standard pipe flows while pointing at my house with a broken laser pointer. Turns out he'd lost his irrigation license years ago for falsifying safety reports. Then the real bomb dropped. A city inspector arrived on scene and read from a clipboard. My system had been recertified as part of the fire department's auxiliary program. She thanked me for my cooperation. The crowd, which had started curious, now laughed openly. Brenda's smile froze. Another neighbor, Trey, pulled up a slideshow on his tablet showing Brenda's previous antics stealing solar lights, complaining about garden flamingos, harassing families over wind chimes. Her reputation crumbled in real time. The HOA president showed up at my door that night, sweating through his shirt. "We didn't authorize that level of action," he mumbled. "She had a board-issued key," I reminded him. "Got it all on cloud storage." He left in a hurry. Brenda filed a complaint the next day, accusing me of endangering civil liberties with dangerous plumbing. The water board fired back with a statement saying the system was not only legal, but essential, and warned residents not to tamper with it. Then she brought in another consultant to criticize my yard. That backfired too. Someone online found the guy's suspended credentials in under 24 hours. The meme? His face photoshopped on a sprinkler. Certified clown flow expert. The city's investigation widened. Turns out the HOA had been issuing keys without consent, encouraging members like Brenda to perform unauthorized inspections. She wasn't alone, just the most unhinged. Over the past 2 years, she'd entered at least 6 other properties, tampered with landscaping, and snapped photos for bogus violations. At the public hearing, residents poured in. One after another told stories. Mr. Everett, a veteran, spoke of being harassed for flying a flag. Denise, a single mom, said Brenda had filed a gravel violation against her garden. And Maria, in tears, showed photos of her child's birthday ruined by a noise complaint. The judge had heard enough. The city voted to dissolve the current HOA leadership and put it under temporary supervision. The fire department submitted a damage bill over $70,000. Brenda was named directly. She looked like she aged 5 years on the spot. But she wasn't done. Weeks later, I received a poorly formatted envelope titled Emotional Damages Claim. She was suing me for cyberbullying, social shaming, and defamation by water. My lawyer nearly choked laughing. Still, I had to show up in small claims court. She wore black like it was a funeral, claiming I had weaponized hydration. I played the tape again. Permits, statements, everything. Even printed her Facebook rant about a firefighter water cartel. The judge dismissed her case, warning her against wasting court resources. Outside, someone asked, "Are you the hydrant lady?" Brenda fled without answering. The story could have ended there. But the new HOA invited me to cut the ribbon on a community garden near the very hydrant she'd tried to sabotage. A bronze plaque read, "Watered responsibly," in memory of a very wet lesson. They also handed me a letter lifetime exemption from HOA inspections and fees, full privacy rights, and city-level designation for community infrastructure support. I framed it. Below it, I framed one other thing. A still shot of Brenda midair, arms flailing, justice soaking her to the bone. I knew she wasn't gone for good. People like her never disappear. They wait. They simmer. But this time, I was ready with legal backup, reinforced lines, and cameras still rolling. Because in this neighborhood, water flows legal. And karma? It comes at 90 psi.